I'm down at my shop. It is pretty daggone cold down here. It's like 30 some degrees, just working on some stuff. And I wanted to kind of touch base with you guys. It's been about a week and a half before I posted on here. I know at the beginning of the year, I wanted to do some stuff that didn't center around technical things, at least on the YouTube part. We're still doing the podcast. We've been talking about some home performance stuff on the podcast. If you don't check out the podcast, that's something you can always do. If you would be interested, any of you guys want to be interested in me putting a podcast on YouTube as just audio, I kind of shied away from that because I thought that was kind of boring to go to YouTube to listen to audio only. But if it's something where you don't do podcast apps, you just have like the YouTube app, just let me know. I can put it up there and we can do it that way. That'd be cool. That's fine with me. It's pretty easy for me to do, but I just didn't think anybody would want it to be done like that. So we want to do like a series on just improving ourselves as human beings, and thus that rolls over into doing a better job at HVAC or really anything that you're trying to do. And I try to incorporate the Bible into the stuff that we're talking about because I think that's like the single best source of, say, self-help, quote unquote self-help, because it's the Lord's word for us. So there's going to be no more perfect book to read than the Bible to improve yourself. And the Bible book that I just finished was in the Old Testament, which is the Hebrew Bible, before we get to the birth of Christ, and it is the book of Job. And before I got started with Job, I was like, this is going to be silly. Job is just going to be a big, long, boring book. I saw it was like 40-some chapters long. I was like, geez. I was pleasantly surprised and really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And the reason I thought it was really good is because it kind of addresses some of the questions we all have about our faith, and it kind of rolls over into how we treat other people as well and how we proceed in our lives. And here's sort of like the quick play-by-play of what happens. Job is like this great guy who does good things in the sight of God. God's pleased with him. But up in heaven, Satan says, you know what? The reason why Job does so well is because he doesn't have any trials he's gone through. He hasn't suffered enough to even really compel him to question his faith. And that's a really interesting argument that Satan makes, because a lot of us are really, really self-assured and confident when there's no trial present, not just with faith, but even, let's take, for example, online. When we have HVAC guys online or whatever, it doesn't matter what trade or job it is, they're really, really confident online. But when you put them, and I've noticed this too, whenever you see someone online and then I talk to them like as a podcast guest or I talk to them in person, the whole dynamic can be completely different, because that confidence and that just strength and belief kind of dissipates, at least to a certain degree, because all of a sudden you're faced with a reality. Now, being on a podcast is kind of a small reality to be faced with, not really a big deal, but the Lord heard what Satan was saying. It's like, okay, do whatever you want to Job, but don't kill him. Don't kill Job. So Satan, he kills Job's children, because I guess the children aren't off limits. I mean, his relatives were crushed by a falling house. Job became sick with body lesions all over his body. And back in those days, it was like, get away from us if you have like leprosy and stuff like that. It's like, go sit in a certain part of town on the street and then ask for people to throw food at you or whatever happened. So Job was an outcast. All of his riches were taken away. All of his animals were killed. It was really, the first few chapters, Job loses like everything. But then a few of his friends come up, and his friends are just riding him. And they're saying, hey, if you would be, you know, you're obviously not perfect, Job. You've done something wrong. The Lord's angry with you. That's why this happened. It's you. You're a problem. And Job is the whole time going, no, I'm just being treated unfairly. I haven't done anything wrong. But he can't stand up to the Lord because it's the Lord. What are you going to do? And I think we're all in that situation, because we have people around us that are going to tell us, you know, it's our fault on something. We've experienced this. We have friends that come in and their advice is horrible. They make you feel like junk no matter what situation you're going through. And it's just one of those things that we can really sympathize with Job. I'm not doing it justice here with this short synopsis, but if you read the book, you'll really get a lot out of it. So eventually, he's arguing back and forth with his friends, basically saying that he's innocent, and his friends are like, no, you've done something. There's something that you do. You've got a problem. We've all been there with our friends and family. And then Job says, all right, well, I'm going to talk to God. I'm going to take this to God. And God responds to him. And Job's like, why is this happening? I know I can't hold a candle to what you have to say, Lord. And then the Lord, he basically goes on for a few pages about how complicated creation is. Basically asking Job a series of like rapid fire questions, like, do you know why the eagle flies? Do you know why the sun rises? You know who guides the clouds across the sky? It's all of these things, and he asks them not because he expects an answer, but because he needs to understand that this world and creation is so complicated, it's infinitely complicated, and we're not going to understand it all. We're not going to understand why we suffer. When we say, why does this child die of cancer? Why did this guy die in a car wreck? Why is it that somebody's born and can't walk? We can't understand the creation that the Lord has made because it's so many moving parts. It's so complicated. It's like a computer that does millions and millions and millions and millions and billions and trillions and on up calculations in a millisecond. I just imagine all of these gears turning at the same time. And as far as you look, far both ways, up and down, all you see is these gears turning and things moving, and you can't possibly understand it. That's what I gather from that. And the comfort that I get from that is that, you've heard Carrie Underwood sings a song called Jesus, Take the Wheel. And that's essentially what it is. Give everything to God. God's going to guide you. You pray for guidance. You ask God, say, please guide my life. Let your will be done, because you want his will to guide your life. That gives you a sort of freedom, because you don't have to control your destiny, because you don't have to believe you're going to control your destiny. You don't have to try to control your destiny, because you don't. You can't. I mean, I think I described it as like you're like a river rock on the bottom of a stream, just kind of bouncing along under the current. The current is God. You are river rock. And that's freeing. And it gives you a little bit of insight that no matter what's going on, what conflict you have, what's happening to people, whether they're your customers, whether they're your coworkers, they're your boss, they're part of this integral and infinitely complicated plan. And that gives you a little bit of freedom to say, let's give people a break. Let's let God work his magic. Let's not get angry. Let's not have conflict. Let's just do our job. We're not going to press and say, well, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this. It doesn't mean you don't work hard. It just means you release some of that control and that pressure you put yourself under, and you give it to God. And I think that makes life a whole lot easier. And I hope that you guys, I know I'm not the best at explaining this stuff. The book was really good. I really enjoyed reading Job. I'm on Psalms now, and it's just really inspirational to get into Psalms. And the first few are just really good right off the bat. So I hope you guys read it. I hope you guys check it out. It's really, really cool. My name is Zach Scioto. I'm the host of the HVAC Shop Talk podcast. And I guess our sponsors. I should mention our sponsors that are so good to make this happen. Navac, Yellow Jacket, Refrigeration Technologies, EWC, Company Cam, and TrueTech Tools. Use our Shop Talk discount code at TrueTechTools.com. Save 8%. All right, guys. Those people make this possible, that I can do this stuff. So I'm grateful to them, and I thank God for them, because I don't deserve any of this. The more I look around every day and see that the life I get to lead, I don't deserve it a bit. But I thank him for it, and I thank you guys for watching, because that's why I get to do this. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.